Today, we're talking about the promises of God that started right back in the beginning of the story. See, God not only creates everything we see around us, the world that we live in, He doesn't only create that, but He places humanity at the center of His creation. The pinnacle, the most important part, because we're made in His image and we're made to be in relationship with Him. He crafts this place for us to be in, to reflect Him, and to be co-workers with Him in the midst of this. Yet, if you're familiar with the story, it all goes horribly wrong. Creation, humanity rebels against God. We step out of relationship. We reject His perfect love, His personal presence with us. We decide we can do things our way. And in the midst of that, God promises right then and there, I know that you've done the wrong thing, but I'm going to set everything right one day. And then right back in Genesis chapter 3, God promises this in the presence of the man and the woman and the serpent. He says, I'll put enmity between you, deceiver, and this woman, and between you, your offspring, and her offspring. He, her offspring, will bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. And in this kind of mysterious little poem, God promises that the things that are broken, He's going to set right. He's going to address. He's going to fix up. God's always desired to be in relationship with us, and when we step out of it, He's always working to draw us and make a way for us to come back into it. This morning, I want to just stop by a guy called Isaiah. Isaiah has heard from the Lord, and he starts to speak out what the Lord's put on his heart. He says this, the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them has light shone. They've seen this great light. Those who dwelt in the land of deep darkness, those who turned their face away from God just before, on them light has shone. You have multiplied the nation, you have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as they are glad when they divide the spoil. See, everything that had just happened in chapter 8, where it's gone from bad to worse, God's going to start to undo and restore. It says in verse 4, for the yoke of His burden and the staff for His shoulder, the rod of His oppressor, you've broken them, as on the day of Midian. Like you can imagine when there's people occupying your country and God says, their authority is going to be broken. It's going to be overturned like the things I've done before. Oh, you can imagine hope starts to well up. Verse 5, for every boot of the trampling warrior in battle tumult and every garment rolled in blood will be burned as fuel for the fire. He's going to clean up the mess of war. And verse 6, for to us a child is born. For to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon His shoulder. And His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of His government and of peace, there will be no end. On the throne of David and over His kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. Oh man, it's like a cold drink of water on a hot day, right? Imagine that. Imagine sitting in that brokenness and aloneness and have someone just say, God sees it, and God's not satisfied with it the way it is. And I think this is the heart of Christmas. That light will break into darkness. That light will form a place where oppression is broken, where people start to flourish, and where peace is personified in the one who establishes peace. This is the invitation that is laid out for people who are suffering and stuck and lost in darkness. And when the light entered the darkness, He proved Himself faithful to His promises. So we can start to trust that maybe the God who will do what He said once will continue to do what He's promised. The promise of Christmas is not that it happened once and He's finished it, that He started something that He's going to finish. This is the invitation that we can be a part of, that we can have hope and joy because of Christmas. What he started, he's going to finish. He said, I will break darkness and I will restore light. I will be the one who sets everything right.